application to construct a 4-story, 49,751 square foot addition to the rear of the existing health center and assisted living facility to expand the assisted living facility by 40 units. Also to construct a 2,800 square foot accessory maintenance building to the rear of the existing community center and to add parking, lighting, and landscaping. Well, this application was a lot different than the first one, I thought, just by virtue of that they didn't have this kind of this big 48-unit apartment building that was a major concern for people, that it was going to be, turned into an apartment building. I think that concern may still remain, but I think it's been somewhat alleviated, but that's just an opinion. So I'd like to hear people's thoughts on this. Stan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I understand that the new structure that they were looking to build previously had kitchenettes in it, and in this new application they would not have kitchenettes in it, and this would just simply be beds in there.
I don't want to. I saw Joe signaling that he agrees with you.
This is central cafeteria for the development.
Okay, everyone agrees with you, so.
Yeah, I believe that that by doing that, I think that this kind of relieves some of the problems that we had with the previous. The fact that they removed that secondary structure, I like that they had done that, and then with this other structure that's going to be attached to the building, I think by having those efficiencies or whatever you want to call them, not having any dining portion to that, and having that centralized cafeteria, I think that it makes it a lot easier for me to want to pass this.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Pam.
I just wanted to make sure that, I know this one, the staff report was posted relatively late today, and I apologize for that, but I did want everybody to make note of the last paragraph that basically addresses the zoning variance, because I know that there was a fair amount of discussion at the public hearing that this project was not valid, the zoning, the variance is expired, but what you have when you have appeals, it stops the clock, and so until the courts render a decision, that basically allows more time, because while it's in appeal and in litigation, any applicant obviously is moving at their own risk. So we have had a considerable amount of discussion with the city solicitor and other staff members, and staff is, as we were at the last meeting, but we double checked and double confirmed to make sure there wasn't anything that had been missed. But staff is comfortable representing to the board that it is in fact still valid.
Well, very good. Okay. Chris, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the new proposal that was presented is definitely a lot better and more, I think, fits better for the particular area. My major concern is the future use of the site. I think that's where I'm hung up is, I think right now, I'm not an expert on the order, but I think everyone knows that it is decreasing, and yet this particular facility is expanding. And I struggle with what happens when, or what do they do with this facility when the demand exceeds the available, or doesn't meet the size of the building. That's my biggest concern. What could it turn into in the future? If I lived on Island Pond Road or in that neighborhood, I would be extremely nervous about 5, 10, 15 years from now. And that's the one area I struggle with. I think it's definitely a better plan than we saw the first time, but I still worry about 5, 10, 15 years from now, what it could potentially turn into. Thank you.
I don't know what to say about that, but it's a point to ponder. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I somewhat agree with Chris, and my concern is the future. But we had quite a few of the abutters come out. Most of them were not in favor of this. And Isn't that somewhere the responsibility of our board that we should be listening to what the abutters have to say? I mean, people that live in the area? Couldn't we take that into consideration when we start making some of these decisions?
What makes you think we don't, Jack?
Well, I'm not saying that we don't, but sometimes I'm not sure that we take it seriously enough, that's all.
Okay.
I just think we should. You know, if we lived in that area, it would certainly be very, very important to us. And I think sometimes when we're not directly affected by it, we don't have the right, look at it sometimes the right way.
Okay. Go ahead, Peter.
I would see that just the other way, Jack. When you're not involved in it, when you're not part of it, you're more of an impartial judge. You're more fair to both sides.
I can see that also.
Pete, then Joe.
Chris's comment about the future, when they were talking about an apartment building with 48-unit apartments on it, shared your concerns. I can see the nuns using, I mean, their community is getting older, the assisted living and nursing care, I think is needed for their community right now. Down the road, I could just see this being sold and being a private nursing home and assisted living. You know, and I heard the arguments of, you know, possible halfway house. I guess, you know, it's possible, but I would think an investor might look at it as a good business opportunity to run it the way it is, as a private place.
Well, I don't mean to interject, I don't know if it really has any relevance to this application, and it doesn't, but I'll say it anyways.
Attaboy.
Because there was a comment that says, you know, oh, well, you know, the government can do whatever they want with a halfway house. Well, the government was able to do whatever they wanted for a halfway house on Elm Street because there was no zoning contrary to that. You know, so in the meantime, you know, if the zoning changes for that area, you know, it could preclude a halfway house ever going in there. But that's beyond the purview of our board and really the scope of our review of this application, but
When you look at the need, baby boomers are obviously aging, there's going to be a need for this. We'll probably should put our names on the list.
Aging planners?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
Joe.
I guess just two things. I was going to say some of the exact same things that Peter was talking about. I mean, you look at its most valuable use in the future, and if you look at the healthcare segment, the fastest growing part of that is the baby boomers and assisted living. Its most valuable use in the future is assisted living. The second thing that I'd like to speak to is not listening to the abutters, and certainly I think, I'm sure I'm not the only board member that has received a flurry of unsigned letters regarding this project, as well as phone calls to my home, one of them a few Saturdays ago at 10:15 in the evening. So certainly I've heard from the abutters. I just appreciated that they not call me at that hour of the evening at my unlisted unpublished number, and that they at least have the fortitude to sign the letter in which they sung to me.
Any further comments? What about the application itself? We got granite curb and
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll speak to that. I thought they did a pretty nice job on it. I remember talking about parking with the potential for reducing it, but they said that they have events now and then, so they wanted to keep the number up. But they do have a confining of drainage system and slope granite curbing, and
I think that's consistent with the traffic concerns. You don't want people parking on the street, right?
true.
So. Staff does not have a recommendation here. And I think that this application is going to have a number of conditions. I, for one, believe that it might just be prudent to have staff prepare a recommendation before the board takes action, but is everyone okay with that?
I'll make a motion to put it back on the table, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
Second by Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, on to new items.
Mr. Chair, just before you go on, I know we're back to our 2 meetings a month, and typically we would wait until a business meeting to have a recommendation on something from a previous public hearing. That's our general schedule.